and welcome to Kini Talk. My name is Samisha Naidu and I'm joined today by a very special guest, Daryl Laking, who is the MP in Penampang, Sabah. Now, he won the seat by more than 10,000 votes in a three-cornered fight against UPCO President Bernard Dompol and Star's Melanie Arnol. Your win in Penampang was one of 3 federal seats that was won by Pakatan Rakyat candidates in Sabah, which is a BN stronghold. Now, that's an increase from 1 parliamentary seat in 2008, am I right?
Yes.
Okay, now, 3 out of 25 parliamentary seats might not seem like a significant number to outsiders, but do you feel that it was a significant win for Pakatan Rakyat in Sabah?
Thank you for having me today, Sumi. And yes, we broke the bank, the fixed deposit. 3 out of 25 is a beginning, and this is Sabah, where we have been branded to be their fixed deposit all those years. I'm proud and I'm glad that I'm part of that win and that change in Sabah. And like our counterparts in Peninsula, we have managed to bring something different to Sabah. And we hope that we will not disappoint the expectations of our constituents and especially Sabah as a whole.
And but how do you feel about, in terms of the number of seats that was won? Do you feel that winning 2 more seats from the previous election, and even more seats, I think you won, increased your share of state seats from 1 in 2008 to 12 in 2013.
I should have mentioned that.
Yeah.
We increased from 1, sorry, there was actually 1 that was won by Pakatan Rakyat also in 2008, and we've increased it to 7 Parti Keadilan plus 4 from DAP, making it 11 altogether.
Okay, so what do you think this signals about the changing political climate in Sabah, if at all?
Yes, I think the people of Sabah have begun to realize that they could make a huge difference if they stand against the current regime. And by us winning, especially Penampang, we believe that we've become the bastion and the beginning of change for Sabah, where even the rural areas of Sabah, like Kadamayan, Matungong, which were all won by us, and traditionally has been with the ruling government, have spoke up and stood up and was part of these new 11 seats that Pakatan Rakyat has.
Now, I understand that your area, Penampang, is considered a Kadazan Dusun stronghold. It's got a strong Kadazan Dusun community. In fact, many of the areas Pakatan had victories in was apparently Kadazan Dusun Chinese areas. Now, why was this? How big a role did ethnicity really play in terms of Pakatan Rakyat's wins in Sabah? Because here in Peninsula, it was a big deal that there was a Chinese swing, or there was a big debate over whether it was a Chinese swing or an urban swing. I'd like to know what you feel.
I was asked, thank you, I was asked about this before. Yes, coincidentally, a large number of this swing came from the urban areas, but these urban areas are not necessarily Chinese areas.
Right.
They're very mixed areas, and we have seen a lot of places in Peninsula Malaysia where the electorates voted on an informed basis. They knew what was going on and they knew what needed to be done, and they made a decision based on informed standing, where I would call it as an informed decision, where they decide on facts and they decide on what they wanted. Now, likewise in Sabah, the Kadazans, the Dusuns, the Muruts, like the Chinese, have made up their minds. These seats which were won by us are areas which are quite far away. I mentioned this Matungong is very far away. Kadamayan is very far away. Places like mine are semi-rural or semi-urban, depends how you look at it. People were very informed in the sense that we had explained to them what was going on in the state, in the federal, and the nation as a whole. And they placed their trust on us simply because they knew they were not getting what they should have been given so long ago. For that matter, the previous Member of Parliament had served the constituency as a Member of Parliament since 27 years ago. But there was an absence of him for about 10 years where he served in another constituency. Now, but all in all, he was more or less the same man representing that area. Because even though my previous Member of Parliament, even though he was in Ranau, he was still the chairman of Barisan Nasional in Penampang, although Ranau is far away. So if you look at the timeline from 1985 to 2013, it was more or less the same person representing the constituency, because he was the chairman of that Barisan Nasional Coalition in our area. Now, why did they vote against that? Why did they vote against that same person who represented them so long? Because they knew they were not getting what they deserve. The politics was purely on racial politics, religious politics, where some people will criticize me for this, but I stand by what I hear and what I know. They use religion and they use race to be relevant. Whereas I don't think we should use race or religion to be relevant anymore.
So you don't think it had anything to do so much with appealing to a certain racial demographic?
No, it did not. It was more of people wanting what they deserve and what they have not been given all the while. So Penampang spoke this time. Penampang said, okay, we want to be part of the national change that should have happened. At the time, we believed it was going to happen. But now it's been proven also, where Merdeka Research have mentioned, if not for the advanced voters and the postal voters, we would have won 22 to 30 seats federally.
Okay. So, I mean, let's talk a bit about the issues concerning Sabah. As you mentioned a few issues. You're saying that racial and religious issues are no longer the main concern. But what are the main issues in Sabah then that are differ from Peninsular Malaysia? What are, for our audiences from Peninsular Malaysia, what are the main topics that are of concern of a Sabahan voter, and what you think Pakatan Rakyat has done in responding to these ones?
Actually, I don't mean to be arrogant, but I must educate our Peninsula friends about Sabah. Sabah has been very dear to this particular subject, where we are partners in Malaysia. And every Sabahan that I know, and you would probably know some, they feel the same, where we feel we were deprived. We feel that we have been sidelined, and we feel also that whatever was promised to Sabah, especially during the formation of Malaysia, was never performed and never fulfilled. And there's that sense of emptiness, there's that sense of regret, and sometimes there's that sense of resentment. And you will hear that feeling of very parochial thinking, where Sabah must be for Sabahan and what have you. Now, in their defense, I must tell you, most of them feel Malaysians. Most of them feel that they are part of Malaysia. But that little reciprocal respect that was never given to us, whereby the promises were never fulfilled, where autonomy was not given, where decisions are not made autonomously in the state, and where simple basic things like hospital, good hospital is not available. Education is, how do you say that, far third world than any place, you know, elsewhere in all over Malaysia. You will have children, you know, Sumi, you'll have children studying in a very old shack, in an old little, very sadly, like a chicken hut. Some people say that. I've not seen it myself, but I've seen pictures of it. You'll have in my constituency a child, pictures of children way up, 3 hours or 4 hours walk in the upper regions of Moyog. This child is not malnourished in that sense, but he or she is not given that basic education simply because the outreach is not there.
So why are these issues unique to Sabah? Is it because of a lack of response of the federal government in tackling these issues, or?
I would say this. The federal government became too comfortable. They became too comfortable that Sabah will always side them in forming their particular government. Hence, they give us handouts, very little handouts, you know, and because you're so lacking of it, you're so much in desperation, you're so much in need of that attention, that little handout has become satisfactory to some. But this round, this election, what Pakatan Rakyat did was this. They mentioned that we were going to make this right. We treat you as equal partner. We treat you as a state that should run on its own, and we will give you what you should get as a partner of Malaysia. So that was the basis of our campaign.
But some have argued that state-based parties may be more effective at championing local concerns as opposed to a party like PKR or Coalition of Pakatan Rakyat that's peninsula-based. Now, what's your response to these arguments?
As far as I know, I'm still Sabahan. So no matter what vehicle we are in, our hearts are the same, our minds are the same, our struggle and our sense of belonging is the same. We are all Sabahan. So whether it be a Mercedes-Benz or Proton Saga made in Malaysia, we still reach the same destination. So whatever vehicle we are in, it does not matter. What matters is your cause. Now, what I found in Parti Keadilan Rakyat is this. They respect what we stand for. And they have reciprocated by promising the same thing that we have been asking all this while. And state-based, yes, they ask for this, they ask for that. Likewise, we ask the same, and we have been promised the same. The only difference, and this is the sad part in Sabah, they claim that state-based knows more about Sabah. But I'm a Sabahan in a national-based party. It is my role to tell my national colleagues, my colleagues in Peninsula, that this is Sabah and this is how Sabah should be.
Yeah.
Hence, I'm here.
I actually found that very interesting that you've said it in an interview previously that through PKR and Pakatan Rakyat, you have the capacity to change from the top if Pakatan Rakyat comes into federal power. I think you said that the Prime Minister may have changed, but the regime remains the same. Our Sabah government may have changed on 4 occasions, but the political leaders and players remain the same. Yeah.
And hence, I'm here in Kuala Lumpur with you, Malaysia Kini TV, sorry, talking about Sabah. I doubt very much a lot of our fellow Sabah politicians have come here to speak about Sabah.
Okay, but I mean, obviously, Sabah still has a way to go before. Judging by the last general election results, there's still some, still some way to go before we actually, the opposition actually manages to take hold of Sabah. Sabah-based opposition parties, the State Reform Party and SAPP, have accused Pakatan Rakyat as being spoilers in the state seats, and they say better victories could have been gained if you just let the state parties contest in certain areas. And why has there been difficulty working with these local parties? And do you think that you need to work with them in order to gain bigger victories in the future?
I think we need to work with everybody. The difference is when we start accusing, I say potato, you say potato, that kind of thing. I know more, you know more, you know less. I don't think that's a good beginning. So, in answer to SAPP and also STAR, the result has shown that people have been accommodative to Parti Keadilan Rakyat, DAP likewise, and our partners in PAS. There are signs that the people of Sabah no longer look at Sabah-based party, but look at the struggle of that party. And I differ, and I beg to differ, on those who say that Sabah-based party should represent Sabah. It must be Sabahan, of course. So, I can't possibly expect Anwar Ibrahim to stand in Penampang. It must be a Sabahan.
Okay, but why then do you think that BN and these Sabahan-based parties have still managed to garner so much support? What's still making people want to vote for Barisan Nasional and these parties as opposed to the opposition? There's still that barrier to overcome.
Well, if you read through what has been happening, or you read through pre-election, the highlight in the media was on this misunderstanding between all the oppositions in Sabah. They kept on highlighting that we had no direction. We were unable to agree on seats and what have you. When in fact we did. We, whatever arguments we may have had, it was just a little of competition, friendly competition within the parties to say that we can stand here and stand there. Now, when the dust settled, everybody worked together. So, if you say why was it that Barisan Nasional and the other local-based party managed to get preferential voting, so at least they've got huge votings from others, from Sabahans, I think likewise you should look at how much the opposition had also. We had a huge number of votes, likewise. So some Sabahans were put into fear on this, even by Barisan Nasional components, by the way. My own opponent, Tan Sri Bernard Dompok's party, APCO, have accused Parti Keadilan of being a national-based party that understood nothing about Sabah. There was also a time when he himself accused it during the Sarawak general elections to warn the Sarawakians not to accept peninsula-based party. Now, my question is this. They talk like that, they speak like that. Who signs their Watika Calon or their nomination or use of their symbol? Is it not a West Malaysian like Najib? Najib signs it. So this is a so-called fighter for Sabah, having his own nomination approval from Barisan Nasional signed by a Peninsula person. Doesn't make sense. If you talk of autonomy, sign yourself lah.
This concept that Sabah feels very distant from Peninsular Malaysia. I know people that I know feel that they don't necessarily feel part of Malaysia as a whole, and even in politics and from the discourse that we've just been having, it has to be a Sabahan representing Sabah. Najib is a West Malaysian. How do you think we're going to bridge this gap and change this mentality of being separate entities, but I mean while maintaining Sabah's right to govern itself? How do you think we can be a cohesive Malaysia with Sabah?
Let's begin by healing the nation this way. We have seen what they've not given to Sabah. We have seen the failures of the promises of Malaysia, which is the basis of our formation of Malaysia in 1963. Why not give it back? Give it back to us, such as immigration. Give us full control of our immigration so that we can protect our borders. Give us back the right to issue our national identity card so that we know who we issue it to. The problems we have with these illegal immigrants getting their national identity cards, and based on what has been revealed in the Royal Commission of Inquiry, where operations have been done in Peninsular Malaysia, where they bring truckloads or at least bundle loads of ICs to these immigrants, should not have happened. Now, I'm proposing that all this should go back to Sabah, meaning we must regulate who enters Sabah. We must also know who is born in Sabah and who dies in Sabah. As it stands right now, entry to Sabah, immigration-wise, is still federal. Births and deaths in Sabah is still federal. Now, does that distance us further? No. It actually helps us to build back what was promised. Then we will feel that we have a reciprocal respect with each other. You treat us as equal partners. The claim and the cries of Sabah has always been about our autonomy. Right now, if you look at what we are given, they say they give us billions of dollars in allocations on development to Sabah. This is what the Barisan Nasional has been saying. But when you go down to the ground, you don't see it. Yes, you see the roads, you see the usual things, but you don't really see what is these billions of dollars that they talk about. The basic thing like hospitals. It took them a long time to complete the general hospital in Kota Kinabalu. There are a lot of very suspicious buildings that were built that have become white elephants in Sabah. We are not even enjoying the fruits of the wealth that we give back to the nation, our natural resources such as our oil and gas. The prices of vehicles in Peninsula and in Sabah are far different. Imagine the price of Proton. Let's go back to this Malaysian vehicle. The price of Proton in Peninsula is 2,000 to 3,000 less than in Sabah. We're the same nation, if you want to talk about one nation. Now, what I believe has happened here is divine. We are separated by sea. Because we are separated by sea, our cultures are different. Probably our thoughts are also different. But what makes us in common is that we belong to one nation called Malaysia. But very uniquely, like the English, the Scottish, and the Wales Parliament, they are all different. They have their own respective parliaments, and they respect each other. Although there is a United Kingdom Parliament, although there's a United Kingdom government, Wales has their own government. Likewise, the Scottish have their own. Now, they all run almost like an equal partner. Likewise, this is what Sabah wants from Peninsula.
And this is what PKR and Pakatan Rakyat are promising to deliver?
That's what they mentioned. They mentioned that they will give us autonomy. Now, in that context, that autonomy will come in. In that context, that respect Pakatan Rakyat has given to us by saying that you can manage your own state comes in.
And how does this differ from what Barisan Nasional is saying?
Right now, everything goes back to Peninsula.
Okay.
Okay. Now, even banks, you know, when you want to borrow money, can you imagine when you want to borrow money, the officer who does the loan processing in Sabah has to go back to Peninsula to seek the loan approval. In Peninsula, the chap or him or her sitting in that office does not know anything about Sabah. The terrain in Sabah, the land in Sabah. He or she will just approve or not approve based on the report given by that officer in the state.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you approve a loan, it should actually be, you should be able to feel that area. You should be able to know the terrain. You should be able to know the geography of the area, the value of the area. Not only on reports that you get from the valuer or from that officer. You should be able to see the land. Now, we are divided by sea, like I said. So how could you decide here in Peninsula?
So you're of the view that even if Sabah is given autonomy, Malaysia will still be cohesive as a whole?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe in that.
You believe in that. All right. So what are the challenges over the next, till the next general election? What is PKS going to do to rally up the support base so that there is a bigger swing in the next time around? What's
Well,
your
I'm
plan?
there.
Yeah, you're there.
I'm here, and I'll make sure that they understand what we say, and my colleagues in Parti Keadilan will honor what we've been talking with them, what we've agreed with them, and what we began in 2013. That breakthrough where we have now 3 parliamentary seats from Sabah shows that, at least in my case, Penampang, shows that we really mean what we want to deliver to the state. And we want our colleagues in Peninsula, especially my party colleagues, to honor what we want to deliver to Sabah and to the nation as a whole, where, like I said, I believe we are partners, and I believe this is the way things should be done. We have a party structure, yes. Parti Keadilan, we have a party structure. That I understand. Mm-hmm. But they also know that we should be able to decide our own administration in the state, or party's administration in the state. And this is the way forward. I can see within Parti Keadilan that we are moving towards that now, where they allow us to make our own choices in the state.
So in terms of the people, how are you engaging the people so that they are...
Oh, it's a tough one.
I can imagine. It's been a BN state for so long, so it must be a challenge.
It's a big challenge. It's been a BN area for so long, you correctly said. The expectations are the same. They want us to be like the BN. They want us to give whatever the BN has given to our constituency all the while. But a large segment of our voters and a large segment of our constituents have understood also that we spoke this time. My constituency spoke this time, and we want to show that you can never pamper us the way you used to do. Cash handouts will not be enough. What do you call that? Rhetorics where they promise to build this, promise to build that is no longer enough. Hence, they took the risk on voting the underdog, or in this case, the opposition. No matter what results would have been.